Have you ever wondered what it would be like to leave the job you know behind and step into someone else's shoes for a day? Even just to see how it is to work in a field that may be a bit out of the ordinary? Well, that is where we come in. I'm Danielle Hafey, and this is A Day in the Life.
Woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head. Found my way downstairs and drank a cup. And looking up, I noticed I was late. Found my coat and grabbed my hat. Made the bus in seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke. And somebody spoke and I went into a dream.
Hi and welcome to the program. I'm Dan Ginden, filling in for Danielle Hafey, and we are here today at the Mystic Aquarium in Mystic, Connecticut. And as you see behind me, we have the training staff along with the veterinary staff that we're focusing on for a day in the life. Aquarium life. It's fun. It's exciting. It's a great place to be. One thing it isn't is boring. For the staff of the Mystic Aquarium and Institute for Exploration, the day doesn't seem to ever stop. And you know what? They don't seem to mind. When the average person thinks of life at an aquarium, this is what they have in mind. Don't get us wrong, the aquarium fish tanks are great, but this area isn't all that the Mystic Aquarium has to offer. That is where the other part of their name comes in, the Institute for Exploration. There is a small petting area, a sea lion show, the 750,000-gallon Arctic coast, which is home to the beluga whales. There is even a contact program that allows visitors to get up close and personal with the whales.
And I'm going to demonstrate to you how forceful that exhale is. And then you can hear him inhale right there. And do it one more time. Isn't that pretty good?
Every part of the aquarium takes people to make sure everything is running smoothly and to make sure that all is well. Caring for all the animals takes precedence. That is where Allison Tuttle comes in. Allison is the staff veterinarian and director of animal care. She graduated from North Carolina State in 2002 and has been involved in aquatic medicine ever since. Working with animals is something that has always been in Allison's blood.
I was born with the interest and born with the intrigue and the desire to interact with animals, and even as a very small child, everything I wanted to do was go to the zoo or, go to the petting zoo, go to the park and feed the ducks, anything.
That desire to be around animals brought Allison to the Mystic Aquarium. Her rounds take her through most of the areas at the aquarium, including behind the scenes. Her day begins early and doesn't seem to slow down much, but it doesn't seem to bother her. Although she does admit there are parts of the job that can be hard on her and the training staff.
When we have animals that are being treated or that are very sick, it can sometimes be very emotionally hard on the trainers and our veterinary staff to work, helping the animals.
The job of helping the animals at the Mystic Aquarium and Institute for Exploration takes Allison to her first stop of the day, the home of their African penguins.
Hi, bud. Oh my goodness, look at how big you are.
There are 2 new chicks that she needs to check up on. These furry babies may look like they were born months apart, but there are only 12 days difference.
One thing that we do to make sure the birds are getting properly fed by their parents at this age is we do a tent test where we pull up the skin on the back and make sure that the skin goes back down. If the birds were dehydrated, the tent would stay raised. So this bird is in good hydration status. You want to hold it? The other thing we routinely check when we're pulling these chicks for their health checks is I listen to the lungs and make sure that the lungs sound nice and clear.
Included in the rest of the examination is a check of the penguin chick's feet. This is done to make sure they don't have any cracking or sores that could be harmful to their health.
So when we return the chick, we take the parent that's remaining on the chick for the day off the nest completely, again, just to avoid the chick being accidentally injured by the parent. Let the chick return on its own, then step away and let the parent return.
Returning the chick seems to be much easier than the process of getting them from the parent for the exam. As you can see, senior trainer Sarah Mislin is being careful not to harm the parent while getting to the baby. After Allison's exams are complete, Sarah starts prepping the penguin's first meal of the day.
Our fish is delivered to us. We order it about once every 3 months. We get thousands of pounds at a time. In one day in the wintertime, all the animals here at the aquarium can go through about 700 to 800 pounds in a day. We try to provide our animals with a good variety of fish. This is the capelin that we feed them. We check it for any damages. This fish has skin pulled back, so the meat has been exposed. We're not sure how that was caused. And because it's been opened up, there's been more opportunity for bacteria to settle in. So we do not feed that type of fish to our animals, just to help eliminate any risk of them coming down with some sort of bacteria or fungal infection that might be present in the fish. So we offer them capelin as well as herring. Penguins can eat surprisingly large fish for their size. They have very fast digestion. And for such a small animal, they say a lot goes in and a lot comes out.
The mothers of the baby chicks are fed more times per day because they feed the chicks by regurgitating some of the food they ate. And no, we didn't get that on tape.
Nice and clean.
You can't tell the sex of a penguin just by looking at them. That can make life a little difficult for Allison and the trainers, so they came up with a system. They attach loose-fitting bracelets where the penguin's wing is the thinnest. That would be the top.
When we actually do their first full physical exam when they're old enough, one of the things that we'll do is take a blood sample, just like when a person goes to the doctor. Taking a blood sample is part of your physical checkup. So we'll take some of that blood then and send it to a lab. They do a DNA test, and then they call us back and let us know if it's a male or a female. And we put a blue bead on the front of the bracelet. If this was a female, it would be a pink bead in the front. If we haven't done the physical exam yet, there would be a white bead in the front. That means it's unknown at this point if it's a male or a female. Now the colors after that just stand for a number. It's a key code that we've made up. Could have easily put numbers on the bracelets, but that's a little more challenging to see in different situations during feeding. So green red has become this bird's name. And that's how we identify how much he eats, how much he weighs, any physical exams that are done by us or the veterinarians, training behaviors. We do public programming, so all of that helps us manage all of that.
Hello, I'm Paul Miner, Executive Director of Massachusetts 211. 211 is a non-emergency information hotline that provides callers with the information they need to solve many of life's everyday and sometimes critical problems. Whether it's finding government benefits or services, nonprofit organizations, support groups, crisis response, and official information, Mass 211 can help. This free and confidential service is provided to you by your local United Way. So remember, when you need non-emergency help, call 211.
If you are like most people, your time is precious. Save time by taking advantage of the convenient electronic services that your institution offers. Simplify your financial life. Arrange for the direct deposit of your pay and benefit checks and other regular income. Direct deposit is safer and more convenient than paper checks. There are no delays in getting funds deposited. You might even get a break on your checking account if your paycheck is deposited electronically. You also arrange to make the most of your regular payments, such as your mortgage, health insurance premiums, utility bills, and investments in a mutual fund automatically. This can be an easy, economical alternative to writing and mailing a lot of checks each month. Withdrawing money from the ATM is also an option that can work better instead of standing in line at the branch or rushing to get to the branch during banking hours. Consider using a debit card or check card to pay for purchases, from your checking account without writing a check. Banking from home, by phone or computer also can be a time saver. This Money Minute has been brought to you by WMCT-TV and St. Mary's Credit Union.
Every 2 seconds, someone in America needs blood. Nearly 5 million Americans will need a life-saving blood transfusion this year alone.
Every blood donation can save up to 3 lives. While many people know about the chronic shortage in the blood supply across the country, very few people are doing anything about it.
We need your help. Giving blood is easy. It only takes about an hour of your time.
Be a hero. Be a blood donor. Help us save a life.
As we found out earlier, a day in the life at the Mystic Aquarium and Institute for Exploration can be a busy one. But with friends like these, who cares? The staff veterinarian Allison Tuttle is making her way from the penguins to the Arctic coast. This is the home of Enoch, Keela, and Naku, Mystic Aquarium's beluga whales. Today, Allison needs to draw blood from them. She's going to need the help of beluga trainers like Becky Stegeman.
Sessions by blowing 3 whistles, and that's kind of like the start signal to them, so they know exactly when to start looking through the exhibit for all of their shapes. And once they find it, you can see this is Keela. She just places her melon right up to that X, and she lets me know that she found her position. And I let her know she did a great job by tapping her 2 times on the forehead. And then, of course, you want to follow that up with a great big fish. Let her know she did a great job. And this is the first feed of the day, so what we like to do with our beluga whales is just look over their bodies and make sure that they look good today from the night. They do a lot of rubbing, and we want to always look over their bodies and make sure they don't have any new rub marks or scratches or cuts on their body. So that's typically what we do first session of the day. You can look inside their teeth, at their gums. And she looks good.
Now Becky gets Keela in position so that Allison can get a blood sample.
And all this time, Keela's blowhole is under the water, so she is holding her breath right now. Belugas have pretty large lungs. She can hold her breath for up to 20 minutes if she needed to. So 5 minutes is not a real big deal for them. So Keela's doing a great job. You can see she's nice and relaxed. She's just keeping her belly and her chest right up at the surface of the water. And her tail flukes are still right up here on the beach, so Allison can draw a nice sample of blood from her tail flukes.
Now that the blood samples are taken, Allison can bring them to the clinical lab for processing. Before she goes, though, the trainers want her to feed Keela. This way, the whales don't just associate Allison with the testing that she does.
I've got blood from the whales to run.
The blood samples are delivered to Lisa Mazzaro. Allison will let her know what kind of testing she would like to have done. The results of these tests are an important part of caring for the belugas.
We're running the hematology on Naku. This is the hematology analyzer, and the results will be printed out in just a moment. It'll give us things like a white blood cell count, red blood cell count, hemoglobin, hematocrit, just like you would get run in your doctor's office. And this is spinning those microcentrifuge tubes to get hematocrit on the animals. And this will run in just about 3 to 5 minutes. And then we're also making some blood slides here. And as soon as they dry a little, we'll stain the slide. And then we'll be able to count the cells under the microscope to give us an idea of the not just the total number of white blood cells, but the types of white blood cells, and that helps the veterinarian determine the health of the animal.
Lisa writes down the results of her findings from all 3 tests. Again, these results help Allison determine how well the whales or any of the animals are doing at the aquarium.
Here's Naku's hematology results.
Thank you.
This wasn't the only delivery Allison will make in a day. She also has to take the second blood samples to the research lab and Tracy Spoon.
So we are studying the immune system of marine mammals, and the immune system is vital to the health of an animal. So we are studying the immune system to improve our ability to monitor the health of the animals in our care, as well as marine mammals in the wild. So from this blood sample, I will isolate the cells of the immune system and then test how well they function. So for instance, I can test how well they attack and destroy bacteria. I will also isolate those cells and isolate the genes of the immune system from those cells and compare them to the same genes in humans and other animals to see essentially how the immune system of marine mammals are put together.
Obesity in America is at an epidemic level. During the last 30 years, the rate of childhood obesity has tripled.
Childhood obesity involves much more than simply being overweight.
So what can we do to help our children?
Plan family exercise. Take the kids to the park.
We can limit the snack or junk foods kept in our homes.
Go for a family walk or bike ride, or simply throw the ball around the backyard.
Together, we can make a difference in the health and well-being of our children.
Hello, I'm Captain Ron Ayotte of the Marlborough Fire Department, reminding you to check your smoke detectors often, because a smoke detector without a battery is just a useless piece of plastic.
And the flames went higher, and it burns, 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 the ring of fire.
A lot of the training that we do with these animals is what's called husbandry training.
We've seen penguins and we've seen whales, but we haven't introduced you to any sea lions yet. Get ready to meet Kodiak. At 1,500 pounds, he is by far the largest sea lion we've ever seen.
So we work him in what's called protected contact. It's very much like working with a large bear. Stellar sea lions are the largest species of sea lions. So as you see us do the session, there's always a barrier between ourselves and him. His side of the barrier is his territory, our side of the barrier is our territory. So we do use a lot of gating systems, as well as where we can't have a gating system, there's what we call a hot wire. It does have a small electric current that goes through it. It's very similar to fencing that's used on farms as well. He sees it visually and knows that that's the end of his space.
With the use of walkie-talkies, the two trainers dealing with Kodiak can hear each other even though they can't see each other. Today, Allison is going to perform a practice vaccination. Kodiak won't receive one for several months, but this gives him the chance to get used to such procedures. Afterwards, we got to see him up close.
Flipper? Good. Stay. And he's kind of checking you guys out a little bit. You're new to him as well, so he's kind of, sometimes it's fun just to put him on and stay and give him the opportunity to look around and check everything out. Good. Vocal?
Kodiak isn't the only sea lion that Allison will see today. She'll be doing an ultrasound later on Coco. Next up, though, is a skin scraping on a fish at the quarantine tanks behind the scenes.
This is a new fish that's come into our facility, and we want to make sure that it's free of parasites before we introduce it to our collection. So the way we're going to do this is we have a chemical that we're going to sprinkle in the water. It's called MS-222, and it's a fish anesthesia. So we put that in the water, and the fish gets put in the water and absorbs the chemical across the gills and goes to sleep. Once the fish is asleep, we'll pull the fish out, collect our skin scrape, and then put it into fresh water for recovery. places to look for parasites that might be hiding in the slime coat are behind this pectoral fin right here. So you can see the slime coat that we've gotten on the slide. And we just scrape a little extra to make sure we get a lot. And then we place it on a microscope slide and we can look at this under the microscope. And the reason we put them under anesthesia is because we don't want them to be stressed out for this procedure.
The fish is put back into the tank and assisted until it can swim well on its own. Then Allison is off again to look at the skin scrape sample. She looks at the pigment cells that come off with the scrape. What Allison is looking for is motion, because that will tell her that there are parasites. Luckily, that isn't the case here.
No follicles yet.
Using ultrasounds to see the insides of the beluga whales and sea lions is another important aspect of caring for them. Allison's next stop takes her to see Coco, the sea lion.
We just put this alcohol on so we can see better. Sometimes it's hard to see through their fur otherwise. He's got a nice liver, and now we'll look for some guts. You can visualize his intestines. You can visualize his bladder. Dark spot full of urine.
Coco checks out okay, and while he gets something to eat for his troubles, Allison is on the move again. Now we're up above the display tanks where Allison is checking in on an eel that was bitten by another eel. He's in this holding tank here until he heals up and can return to the display tank. Aquarist Megan Pride is going to take a water sample before she feeds the fish. The water sample will be tested soon to gauge how the quality of water is for the fish. But the fish don't care too much about that right now. They are hungry.
This is shrimp, of which shelled, unshelled, doesn't really matter. These parts are capelin, which we normally get a little bit bigger, and we just chop them up. These parts are herring. We have more squid chunks. This is krill, and these are mysis. So, basically, we like to take some of the shrimp out for the balloon fish, which is actually chilling right up top there. He's the bigger one. He gets special treatment because he doesn't always get food. And so do some of the birdfish. They'll come over and take shrimp directly from your hand. So, we do scattering.
As Megan said before, hand feeding is done for some of the smaller fish that can't fight the bigger fish. The eels are also fed separately. Once that is done, the water sample needs to be delivered to the lab.
So normally in the mornings, we bring the water samples to Dawn or anyone else. That's our designated area to put the water samples.
Yeah, we get about 20 to 30 a day. And then I'll take them and run a variety of tests on them depending on what they need. One of the major ones is pH, so we use a pH meter right here. When you turn the stir plate on, it just helps the water move in the probe so that you're getting an accurate reading. And then it'll pop up with the pH and it'll beep at us and let me know it's ready, and I can decide whether or not I'd like the number and if we need to make any changes or additions to our systems. So the water quality is important here. It's the basis of everything at the aquarium. We test a lot of different parameters, and if anything is even slightly off, it can affect the health and safety of our animals, so it's really important. So I got a pH of 8, which is a great pH for that exhibit. So I'll take that information, I'll let the aquarist whose tank that is, I'll let them know what it is. We have a database on the computer that stores all of our information, and that way people know what's happening and what's going on.
Several times a day, the trainers and sea lions put on a show for the crowds that come to the Mystic Aquarium and Institute for Exploration. So we thought we'd sit in on one. Once the show was over, we found Allison again, now on her way to the stranding area. This is where animals are kept that stranded themselves or were injured. The staff tries to keep the interaction to a minimum because these animals, once healthy, will go back out into the wild.
So our food is kept here in the fridge, and we've already weighed out his bucket. It was 1.34 kgs. We measure everything in kilograms. So we're going to be feeding him this giant fatty herring. That's the type of herring it is, and it's a very large sized fish. And believe it or not, he has no issues. In order to stuff a medication, like all little kids, we have to just hide it basically. So I'm going to take my finger, and behind the gill, I'm just going to try to make a little pocket in there, big enough so I can get the pills inside. And then I'm going to just kind of tuck it in here. As you can see, he's hungry. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. What we usually do is we actually give what's called a blank fish. It doesn't have any medication or vitamins or anything. We give that first to make sure the animal will eat, and then I can guarantee you he will be eating. So on that second fish, it'll be that med fish we'll give. And then after that, he's just really fast at eating, so he'll just continuously eat. And of course we feed from the back door because we don't want him to get used to people. So we don't really want him to know that the food is coming from us, because then he'll come up to boaters, he'll come, up to fishermen and things like that. All right, so here goes. And I just come up and take a little peek around, make sure that he's eating it. And then because I know he's a great eater, I'll just continuously feed him.
This long yet exciting day is now coming to a close. That means Allison returns to her office for one more task.
Records. It's definitely doing the medical records. It takes an awfully long time, and it's incredibly important because it's how we track the health of our animals over time. It's how we communicate with one another. If I'm not here and another veterinarian were to come in, they'd be able to tell exactly what we've done. So it's incredibly important, but it can get tedious at times.
As we've been able to show you today, life at an aquarium is a lot of fun, mixed in with a very busy schedule. That's going to do it for this episode of A Day in the Life at the Mystic Aquarium and the Institute for Exploration. I'm Dan Ginden. Thanks for watching. I had a good time. You guys have a good time? Good enough.
Woke up, fell out of bed, dragged a comb across my head. Found my way downstairs and drank a cup. And looking up, I noticed I was late. Found my coat and grabbed my hat. Made the bus in seconds flat. Found my way upstairs and had a smoke. And Somebody spoke and I went into a dream.